Hello, welcome to Confessions of a Cleaning Business Owner. I'm Louise here with Diane, and today we are going to be talking about, are you working and making no money? And Diane, this is something that my heart goes out to people. I've been doing quite a few phone calls this week supporting people, and I'm going to give you a scenario. This is a made up sort of amalgamation of a whole load of different people. But this is really common. So I'm getting people that have got not bad sized cleaning businesses. So they've got 10 staff, let's say. They may or may not have an office. They've probably got one virtual admin person. They've not got a lot of overheads. You know, they're doing a lot of cleaning. It could be sort of domestic cleaning, maybe going partially into commercial cleaning. They've got a decent sized turnover, but at the end of the month, they are making no money. So they might be running a team of 10 and only be making £500 a month. They were making more money as a solo cleaner. I mean, you don't know this because you've not spoken to these people. Obviously, you can't ask me more questions about the details here, but this is really common and you've come across this as well. Break down for me, what is going wrong here?
Yeah, and I think it's a team of 10 is such a challenging time in your business. And if it's not profitable, you are just on a thankless treadmill, aren't you? You're just churning out work and probably yourself as well. And for no reward. Everybody in the business is getting paid. All your clients are getting their houses cleaned or their premises cleaned, and you are getting nothing for all of it.
But it's worse than that, Diane. You're probably still covering, you're working up to 7 days a week, and phone calls could be coming in at 11 o'clock at night with someone not turning up the next day.
And we hear a lot of people get to this situation, and the comment is often, I made more when I was a solo cleaner.
Yeah.
And actually cleaning for 25, 30 hours a week, they were better off than having built a team of 10. And I think it's fundamentally, they've built the wrong business model. They've got the wrong structure in place. And it might be a systems issue. They might just be running around, but actually it might also be fundamentally, they've just got the wrong business structure.
Yeah, I think it's really hard because what a lot of people get into this by accident. We know there's accidental business owners and they're not into the numbers. They're not making number-based decisions. And what happens is the bigger the team gets, when you were cleaning, it was hiding the fact that each additional person was barely making you any money. So by the time you get to 10 and you finally come off the tools, well, because each one's making you so little money, you would have been better staying on the tools and not having any of them.
Yeah, and that business owner with a team of 10, if each person in that team is making you £20 a month, if you're lucky, then the reality is, yeah, you are only going to be getting £200 a month unless you're the one delivering some of the cleaning to supplement it in some way. And I do think that this is a fundamental problem in our industry, that it's easy to grow a business, but it's not easy to grow a profitable business. And we talk a lot about our own business structures and how our cleaning businesses are set up, and we focus really very much on that fully managed high-end model, because we know the key to our industry, this is our belief, if somebody can prove us wrong, great, but this is our belief from experience, is that it's work less and earn more, not work more and earn less, which is the reality of, if you get to 10 and you're not making, and you could have made more as a solo cleaner, you've gone the opposite of that.
So let's make this clearer. Okay, there are 3 possible business structures. Okay, so I'll list them and you can explain them to me. So you've talked about a premium service, and that's where both of us would sit, right? That doesn't mean you've got a small team. It just means that you're running a premium service as top-end prices as you can possibly get. Talk me through, just briefly, that business model and why it works.
Yeah. So that, for me, I call that the fully managed high-end service or business structure, which is, it allows you to have things in place that mean you can deliver without the stress and also at a profit. And it starts with your pricing. Of course, it starts with your pricing. We talk about pricing a lot, and I know people sometimes get fed up of us talking about pricing, but it does start there, because the pricing and the delivery and the profitability of every single clean is key. If you've got clients on your books that you are literally, it's a charity clean because they get a clean, your team get paid, and the business makes nothing, then you're not that fully managed high-end service, and you will struggle to grow profitably. And certainly at 10 staff, you will not be profitable unless you are following the fully managed high-end model.
And the nice thing is, if you are fully managed, you've got all the perks in there for the customers. So you're giving them the text messages, you're giving them probably direct debit, so you're not chasing money. You've got money coming in on time. You've got enough money to have additional admin or management staff. You know, everything that you need or see in terms of running a successful business is available, isn't it? You can, okay, you're not going to get all of them because there still isn't enough money to do them all, but you're going to be able to pick and choose what's going to help you the most.
Yeah, and the reality is the margins can still be relatively tight at times, especially when you're in growth mode, but it allows you to focus on future building a profitable business, even if there are times when it's a bit tight, maybe over Christmas when everybody's got time off, or in the summer holidays, that the margins aren't as good as they are the rest of the time. But it is a consistent model and it's a sustainable model. Whereas the opposite, which is the sort of lower end, it's not even low end cleaning, it's actually the low end pricing usually. If you're going to make a profit with that kind of business, it's got to be huge in order to benefit from the economies of scale enough that charging, say, £19 an hour is going to be sustainable. So if you've got a team of 10, you'd probably have to have a team of 50 or more to make £19 an hour a long-term sustainable business that isn't going to drive you nuts and probably kill you in the process.
And it's interesting, if you're going to go for low end, you've got to do high volume. It is all about scalability. So the cleaning industry is always all about scalability. But if you aren't going to make much, then really you've got to be getting to the £750,000 to £1 million turnover. If you're charging your sort of £19-20, even if you've kept your margin, your costs incredibly low, and you are telling me you're making £4 or £5 an hour, again, you have to be multiplying that up so big to afford any kind of support. But on top of that, you can't, your team is now so big, you can't almost manage them, which means you have got to have really hardcore structures in your business. There is no room for error when you've got a team that big.
I agree. And actually, if we're talking about the £19 an hour mark, you're probably making £1 or £2 an hour on each clean. So think of the scale you would have to grow your business if that's your profitability level. And it might be that you're listening to this and thinking, well, I charge 19 and I make more than that. But it might also be that you don't look at your numbers closely enough to actually understand that you are only making £1 or £2 an hour. Or like I said before, you're supplementing the business because you're delivering 30 hours of the cleaning every week and not accounting for that in your costs. So you think you're making more money, but actually you're out there cleaning to supplement it and make more money.
So I'm going to put an example to you, Diane, just while we're on this. So let's say I was running a cleaning business and I had a member of staff and they were well under 25, right? So I'm paying them £10 an hour. You can pay less if they're even younger, but let's say I'm paying them £10 an hour. The customer supplies all the products. They're self-employed. Let's just throw that in there as well. They're self-employed, so I'm not paying any traveling time or anything like that. So surely I would be making decent profit at £19 an hour.
I suppose potentially you would be, but I think you will still never get to that huge scale that you need, because for me, there feels like there's a fundamental issue with, maybe there might be an issue with the ethics if you're only paying £10 an hour as an example, but also you're going to struggle to recruit at that rate. You're not going to be recruiting the best candidates. So your service delivery will have issues. I guarantee it will have issues. And that means that potentially you're going to have to keep finding new customers because you may well be losing them. And your marketing will cost more because your customers won't be recommending you. You're going to have complaints. So you may well be having to give refunds or re-cleans and that sort of thing. So I think staying at that sort of thinking, well, if I can't charge more than 19, I'll just pay my staff less is, again, you're just compounding the problem, I think.
Okay, so although you can get away with it for one or two, you can't build a big business on that, is what you're saying?
Yeah, and I think for me, business is all about building something that's sustainable and that you're going to enjoy and be proud of, and that's going to give you the future that you deserve for all your hard work, but that also has the right values in place so that you're attracting the right customers and attracting the right team members, because all of that is key to you having success in your business and enjoying it, because there's no point building a massive business that you hate.
And the other thing, the reality is, let's say someone is over 25 and they're self-employed, although it's about to change that it's going to be everyone. They're really a self-employed person at the moment. You should be paying them, what, 14, 15 pounds an hour?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Because again, you're not going to attract the good candidates. And an employee now, somebody employed that gets holiday pay, etc. They're on sort of around £12 an hour plus now in our industry. Minimum wage doesn't normally cut it, especially not in domestic cleaning. So yeah, you've got to think, if you're going to use self-employed contractors, you're going to have to pay them a lot more than that level, aren't you, to make them good and make them want to stay with you as well, and to deliver, because they're working on your behalf.
Yeah. And if you do low end, they're just going to keep stealing off you, aren't they? They just, like, if you're paying them 10, 11 pounds an hour and you're charging 19, why don't they go direct to the customer for 15? It's a no-brainer.
And we always look at it in our business. We look at our job as the management team. Our job is to look after the cleaning team so that they can look after our clients. And that's the relationship in the business, because with all the best will in the world, I can't clean for 200 customers. So I have to have a team in place to look after them for me. So my job is to look after that team, or our job is to look after that team. And that's a very different ethos to, well, if I just pay them as little as possible, then that £19 an hour will become profitable.
Okay, so there is one other model, right? And I've got to say, I've played around with this model. I've never actually been able to do it because it would be such a big change from what we currently do. But I have investigated it. And if I was to start again, I'd be sorely tempted with this one. So the agency model. And this, when we say agency, this is very specific in terms of HMRC's definition of an agency, isn't it? Do you want to describe this one?
Yeah, so an agency model is a really interesting one. And I feel the same way as you, Louise, that if I had my time again to start again from scratch, it would probably be a model that I would seriously consider, because it has so many advantages. It has some disadvantages too, which we'll discuss. But yeah, the agency model basically means that you act as the dating agency almost between a cleaner and the client, and you charge a management fee for looking after that relationship.
Yeah. So effectively, the customer comes to you, says, can I have a cleaner? You send them a self-employed cleaner. The cleaner then manages that customer, really doesn't have a lot to do with you, and you get your monthly fee on top, and the client pays the cleaner directly.
And often in the agency model, the client provides products and equipment as well, which makes it sometimes easier to recruit contractors to do it for you. I'm not over keen on that from a health and safety perspective, but that is often what happens as well.
Okay, so why is it that both you and I are tempted by this one?
Well, I like it from a VAT perspective, because I think to myself, so if I charged, say, let's say it's £5, I'd probably charge a little bit more per hour agency fee, but let's say £5 for ease. You'd need to do a lot of £5 an hour of management fee in order to hit the VAT threshold of 90,000. You don't have to do an awful lot of £30 an hour to hit the £90,000 VAT threshold. So you could grow a significantly larger business before hitting the VAT threshold. So I like it a lot from that point of view.
But you then give up an awful lot of control and things like that. So the way I would do it if I was going to do this, and there's a lot of people that might be listening to this going, go on then, give me your ideas. It would be all about the software. For me, it would be, let's write our own software and let's come up with, you'd have to have full ownership of this. And I see a lot of franchises that are selling the agency model. And that's quite often what you do when you buy into a franchise. And I'm like, oh, I wouldn't want to buy into a franchise. I want the ownership of my own software in order to do this. But it would be all about the software. It's entirely about the systems. That's the only way you're going to make money with this, is fantastic systems.
Yeah, I agree. It needs to be, completely automated, but also I believe there needs to be a really, really good customer service part to this as well, because that will be the key to you retaining that management fee and that client not dealing with the cleaner direct, because that would be one of the disadvantages of this. Is you talked about lack of control. It's lack of control of the relationship with the client that is the biggest risk point for me in this model. But it's certainly more scalable than the the low end high volume model, definitely.
Yeah, and I think this is what we see in franchises, that they do choose to scale this one. That being said, you still make more money doing high-end premium cleaning. If you are able to scale the agency model, then you can scale the high-end model, and you will make double on the high-end model. So I'm like, well, for the same amount of work, I know which one I'd take.
Yeah. So it's I mean, that's always what we teach. And we've had some interesting things this last couple of weeks, haven't we, where people have grown their businesses to a certain size and then realized it's the wrong model, and they've been chasing, if you like. And then we can help them if they're prepared to take some drastic action. But I find it frustrating that we don't help more people, I mean.
No, and I think it's been really interesting. So those of you that are in the DCBN, we're working our way through it, guys. But Diane and I have been reaching out to people. So we've been proactively messaging lots of our members to say, hi, how's it going? I've had a focus on recruitment, and I think you've been talking about marketing. But we'll talk about anything you want to talk to us about, but we'll start the conversation with whichever topic we're on. And it's been amazing the number of people that, I love talking about recruitment, but they don't want to talk about recruitment. They want to talk about actually there's things going on. And these are people that might have been members of the DCBN for months or years. And it's only when we're reaching out again to them to say, look, come on, we've been trying to ask you to come in. You get free coaching calls every Monday. And there are people that, honestly, the ability to help them is it's some of them really quick and easy problems to sort. But the number of people I've had on the verge of tears just explaining their problems to me, they're massive. And I'm going, well, okay, well, I can sort that in about 3 minutes. Like, yes, sometimes you have to take the action, but we want people to reach out earlier, don't we?
Yeah, and I also think that as business owners, do you not think that a lot of us don't want to admit that there's a problem, and on the surface everything looks great, but actually underneath there are some challenges, because everybody's got challenges in their business, and I'm pretty sure every single person listening to this podcast has got a challenge, whether it's huge or whether it's relatively small. It's there in the back of your mind. It wakes you up in the middle of the night. Maybe it's the first thing you think about when you wake up, and it's hard to ask for help, isn't it, sometimes?
And I think it's really interesting because if let's say I talk to a cleaning business owner and I say, how's your team? And they say, my team is fantastic. My team is really, really good. And I'm like, so if you lost business and you had to get one of them, is there one you've got in mind that could go? It's always an absolutely yes. There's 1 or 2 or 3 that I would love to get rid of. And it's really interesting. And I think what I love about it is people are really honest on these calls. And obviously for that reason, we keep it completely confidential. Even if sometimes we discuss it a little bit around here, it's normally pretty confidential. But you have to be honest, and it's hard to be honest to anyone else because people around you don't understand what it's like being a business owner. And that's why it's so powerful to talk to people that go, I get it. I absolutely get it. And yeah, the hard bits, and yeah, you want to quit. Yeah, I've been there. But come on, let's not quit. Let's see how you're going to get through this.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that, because you and I have been in this industry quite a long time now, and we've spoken to so many cleaning business owners. There's not many problems we haven't heard or helped people solve. And I'm sure there'll be things, we still have challenges in our own businesses, and we solve those on a daily basis, because I certainly, and I think you agree, I think that that's our job as business owners, is to solve problems every day, and we get good at that. We get good at business.
Yeah, I think the one thing that I've learned is I don't always know all the answers. And I have people that come to me and they will ask a very specific question, maybe a specific legal or accountancy question. And I'll be like, look, I'm not entirely sure, but hang on a second, because I know exactly where I would go to get the answer. So let me either go and get you the answer, or you can speak directly to them. So most of them, I don't think there's any that we haven't been able to answer.
No. I get a lot of HR questions, and I always say, look, I am not HR qualified. However, I do have lots of experience. This is what I would do. This is the resources that you can take a look at. Obviously, there's a masterclass. I always say, watch this masterclass. And actually, I've started doing that quite a lot on our Monday calls, which is this is this is the follow-up, this is your homework, and I always confirm it with them afterwards. Remember, this is what we discussed, this is what you said that you're going to do to make changes. Because I think sometimes talking about the problem is the first step, and then taking action is the key, isn't it? And then, if you need to follow up, we can then do another call, can't we? And this is what we love to do, but it's so hard, and we know that it's hard because we've been there and earned our stripes along with everybody else, haven't we?
Yeah, but there is the help there, and Diane's loving for what I've done to her today. So I'm off next week, right? Because well, it's my daughter's birthday, but it's also she's doing a big exam, and so I'm taking the day off, and I can't do my Monday Magda scores. So all the ones that I've done this week, I've pushed. Diane's booked in with all of them, so I've had to forward across the notes with people's permission. Like, I'm going to forward this to Diane, and Diane's following up. And but yeah, we will work together and actually solve these, won't we? We're not just going to abandon you there. And it's hard if it's one person, they go off sick or something happens. But here we're going, right, we can give you a continuous service. And that's what I love. When you get close to someone you're really supporting, and I'm going, I want to be there for you, but I just can't. And I'm like, but Diane can.
Yeah, I've now got a full diary on Monday, so yeah, no, I love the course. It's challenging, it's interesting, but fundamentally that's what we set the DCBN up for, wasn't it? Was to help other cleaning business owners. So if we do that every week, then it makes me really happy, and it makes me sad that more people don't reach out and ask for help, I suppose.
So coming back to sort of conclude this, we started off with business models that do and don't work, right? And I gave you a scenario. Now, the biggest problem I know when I speak to people is that what they think should happen is what they need to do is take on more business and grow the team more. Basically, there seems to be this idea in the industry that you can grow your way out of the problem. Okay. Now, they don't express it like that, but when they tell me, I'll often explain to them what they are actually doing. So, Diane, if I came to you and said, Diane, my problem is I have 10 staff, I'm not making any money, what I'm going to do is grow my way out of this problem. What would you tell me to do?
I would just say you're going to grow yourself into a bigger problem. Because if you don't fix the fundamentals, you shouldn't grow your business. You need to fix what you've got. And also, you need to make sure you've got the systems in place so that as you grow, it's not going to collapse under the strain, or you're not going to collapse under the strain. So I would be talking to you about what in the business works and what in the business doesn't work. Let's look at that first, then you can grow. But you've got to grow on a better business model, not the sell cheap, sell lots. That for me doesn't work as a business model in our industry.
And it doesn't work because it is really hard to recruit, particularly at scale. So you can never, well, you can, it is possible to get to the scale, but the size of team you'd need, you'd be recruiting more than full time. You'd have a team of recruiters in order to be able to do that. And you can't afford a team of recruiters. And that's where it all falls apart, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I'm a big fan of work less, earn more. And even whether you're a solo cleaner or a business with a team, I think the same applies. Build a better, more profitable business.
And the other thing that I often would say to people at this point, and they don't normally listen to me and they normally disagree with me, I'm like, stop taking on customers, even if it's for 2 weeks, stop. And they're like, but I need to. And I'm like, no, that's a mindset thing. Right now, you need to solve the problems in your business. Stop. And often they'll say, I'm too busy to solve my problems because I'm too busy quoting and taking on new customers. And I'm like, stop. Can you not see the reason you're so busy is because you're running around covering every clean. And the reason you're covering every clean is because you have too much work for the staff you have. You can't recruit because you have too much work for the staff you have. You can't do anything because you have too much work, and your biggest fear is you won't have enough work. And I'm like, can we not see what the problem is here? Stop taking on more work. And the moment that you stop taking on more work, you can start to actually solve some of these problems.
You need room to breathe, don't you? And I think adding more work to a business that's not profitable, that's not working, whatever the problems are, is like having a wobbly table, and you just keep adding, putting more books on it, putting more cups of tea on it. Eventually, it's going to fall over. Yeah, it's going to fall over. You know that. It's a table. If you think of your business in the same way, stop adding things to it. You're just going to make it worse. Fix the basics underneath, and then you'll be able to add loads of things on.
Yeah, and that's the part. And I think if anybody's listening to this and you're thinking, okay, what do I do about my specific problem? First of all, unless you want to reach out to us, if you weren't reaching out to us, and I think you should reach out to us, I would say stop. Just stop growing your business. There are people out there that promote growth, 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 growth. In fact, they probably even name their business growth. They promote that. It doesn't work, guys. Bad news. It doesn't work. Stop, get it right, and then grow.
Yeah, completely agree.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much. And if you'd like to reach out, we would love to have a chat. You can find us on Messenger, is probably the easiest one, Facebook Messenger, Louise Traherne or Diane Greenwood. Otherwise, send a message to the DCBN. So Louise or Diane at dcbn.org.uk. Thank you very much.